Welcome to FuzzyTek, the show where I talk about technical, geeky, nerdy stuff. I'm Fuzzy, and in this episode, I'm going to show you how I made my little video game themed 8x8 LED matrix display. I'll start with the materials I used for the project. For the housing, I used this little wooden picture frame with a glass front that I picked up at a second-hand store. I also used some reflective mirror film on the glass. For the electronics, I used an ATtiny85, an 8x8 LED matrix module, some wires, and an 18650 cell that I salvaged from an old laptop battery pack, along with a holder for it and a random switch I had lying around. After I'd breadboarded the project and made sure it all worked, I got a small piece of prototype board and soldered on a socket for the chip, as well as the required wires. I pushed the LED matrix through a piece of cardboard that came with the picture frame and soldered the wires to the pin sticking through it to the legs of the chip underneath. I then hot glued on the switch and battery holder and soldered it all together. Now you may be wondering how it works. Well, I used the Arduino IDE to program the board and a great website called LED Matrix Editor to design the animations and patterns. I've linked to my exact patterns in the description. Feel free to use them or tweak it for your own projects. The ATtiny chips aren't in the Arduino IDE by default, so you have to add them in the board manager. To do this, go to File, Preferences, and click on the little icon next to where it says Additional Boards Manager URLs. And add in Drazzy's URL and click OK. The URL is in the video description. I'm not going to go over how to program the ATtiny chips with the IDE, but just know that it requires another Arduino device such as an Uno. A link to a programming tutorial is also in the description. Once you have the board all set up and ready to be programmed, be sure to set the correct settings in the IDE and that the millis/micros is enabled and the clock speed is 8 MHz internal. I'm not going to walk through the entire code as I've linked it in the description, but I'll talk a little about how the images are stored on the chip. The ATtiny85 doesn't have much memory, and we can't store all the images at once, so we have to store them in a double EEPROM, however you want to say it, and add them to a buffer when we need them. The images are represented by an array of bytes in images.h. The prog_mem word here simply means to store this data in the EEPROM rather than just in the normal program memory. The data is retrieved when needed by using memcopyp to copy the particular images data into the program so it can be used and sent out to the display. The code isn't very long, so feel free to have a look through it and reuse or improve it. I wasn't going for fancy, sleek or minimal, but rather just functional. As long as it worked, I didn't really care how optimized or even correct it was. So there we have it, the 8x8 LED matrix playing through some video game themed animations. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please leave a like. If you haven't, please tell me why and consider subscribing and pressing the bell. Many thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.